Hello, I'm Nathalie Dupree. Today on Nathalie Dupree Cooks for Family and Friends, I'll be making you a hearty meal. American bistro, perhaps? There'll be grilled ham steak with Asian barbecue sauce, Durgan Park's Boston baked beans, hot German potato salad, broccoli and green bean salad, and fudgy brownies for dessert. I really like it all, and I have good memories associated with friends that gave me these recipes. I think you're going to like it. This broccoli and green bean salad is full of things that are good for you. And you know, actually, I have eaten it hot as well as cold. So let me tell you about it. It's a bunch, which is about 1.5 pounds of broccoli, a pound of green beans, that's about 2 cups, tipped and tailed, 1/2 cup of olive oil, 1/3 to 1/2 cup of fresh lemon juice, 3 ounces of pitted Greek or black or Italian or French-styled olives, sliced or chopped. And I'm going to tell you about those in a minute. 2 bunches of green onions or scallions, including the green, that'll make about 1 cup, and 2 large garlic cloves chopped, 3 heaping tablespoons of finely chopped fresh mint, lemon balm, I grow that, or parsley, and 1/2 teaspoon of dried hot pepper flakes, if you want them. Pepper flakes, if you want them. Now, remove the florets from your broccoli, and I've saved a little bit of the stalk on there because it's so good for you. This is a cruciferous vegetable, and it's anti-carcinogenic. I mean, they have really attributed many great health properties to it, and I believe it's true. Blanch it, which means throw it into boiling water for 2 to 3 minutes, and then take it out, refresh it, which means run it under cold water, and that sets the color, and it stops the way that it sets it is to stop the cooking. Now, you do the same thing with the green beans. You tip and tail them. I don't have any to show you, but that just means you take off the tips and the tails. If you have to string them, if they've got strings, you do that. You throw them into boiling water for 5 to 7 minutes. You want them crunchy but tender enough to bend slightly. Then into cold water to cool them and refresh them, and then they're done. Now you place the broccoli and the beans, in a big, pretty serving bowl, and whisk together in a separate bowl your olive oil and your lemon juice. Put your lemon juice in first, and then your olive oil. And then season to taste with salt and pepper. I love this gadget. It's got a little light that goes on it. I don't know how long it'll last. I've gone through several now, but I enjoy that one while it works. And then you toss this with the broccoli and the beans. But don't do this till you're just about ready for it, because it will discolor them. So just don't let it sit like that overnight or anything, but just when you're ready. So in the meanwhile, you get everything else chopped and ready to go. Don't toss this and then start chopping everything else, but do that just before serving it. Now, let me show you the different olives before I start chopping. What I have here is a Greek olive and another kind of Greek olive, 2 kinds of Greek olives. You can see the labels, and 2 different kinds of American type black olives. Sometimes I call them rubber olives. I like them sometimes, but I'm not always. And yet again, another kind of Greek olives. I wished I had those little tiny Niçoise olives to show you, because those are really some of my favorite, the little French ones. But they're awfully hard to pick. When you live in Italy, or when you go shopping for groceries in Italy, you might see 20 different kinds of olive out, and the same thing would be true of the of shopping in France. Now, here's our olives chopped, our green onions chopped, our garlic chopped, our hot peppers. I want to show you, dropped my diamond, and I want to show you my mint and my parsley. Boy, that really has seen better days. And this is lemon balm. I don't know if you can see it. All of it's been sitting out here under the hot lights, and put that on top. I'll very quickly just show you how to chop these things, and I found the ones that I was supposed to show you how to tip and tail, but I think you've seen this before, so never mind. Here's a green onion. To slice it on the diagonal. It's not a green onion, it's a scallion. And here's your garlic. Hit it with the side of your knife. Give it a big swack like that, and it peels it. and cut into the root. And how much is one garlic clove is up to you. It's all your stuff. And then chop it. I'm sure you can't see that. Let me show you a little bit better. Okay, there you go. Now, you can serve this at room temperature, or you can even make it warm if you want to. I have tossed it over heat. When the weather's turned on me, I've tossed it over heat. It's good. And as I said, don't dress it ahead of time because it will discolor. Now, grilled ham with Asian barbecue sauce. I made this up one day, and I really like it. But I went to the store that day, and I got a special cut of meat that was much thicker. And what I'm using today is what you can actually buy in the grocery store already packaged for you so that you don't have to ask for something special from the grocer. Buy one 7.5-ounce bottle of hoisin sauce or hoisin sauce. It's spelled Hoisin, Hoisin sauce. You can usually buy that in the Oriental section of the grocery store. 1/4 of a cup of soy sauce, 1/4 of a cup of packed brown sugar, and 2 tablespoons dark Oriental sesame oil. That's different than light sesame seed oil. 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar or rice vinegar if you didn't have any. 1/3 of a cup of orange juice, a teaspoon of ground ginger, 2 teaspoons of dry mustard, 2 green onions or scallions, white part only chopped, and 1 3-pound pre-cooked ham steak, which is 1 1/2 to 2 inches thick. Only that's not what I've got. I'm just going to show you that ham while I think about it. This is what came in the package. It's a cooked ham, and it's all I could get unless I had it specially cut. So that means that I'm going to have to adjust the cooking time later, and you can remove the rind, and I'll show you that in a minute. Now, meanwhile, you mix together your hoisin sauce or hoisin sauce, your soy sauce. I had a friend that used to always correct my pronunciation on it. Your brown sugar, your sesame seed oil, your sesame oil, and you can see how dark that is, can't you? It's really a lovely color dark. Your vinegar, your orange juice. Fun combination of ingredients, isn't it? Your ginger, use as much of that as you like. Your mustard, and your green onions. Now you just pour that over your ham and marinate it overnight. Now this ham is really already cooked, but you put it in an airtight container or the refrigerator. I like a plastic bag. Unfortunately, don't try to reuse this plastic bag because whatever you put this hoisin sauce and the sesame seed oil in, the odor clings. So heat your grill or your broiler, and then you just drain your ham. Get out of here. In fact, it kind of does leave your hands even with a little odor, and it's really almost better. And you can remove the rind if you like. I was going to do that, but I think it might hold it better together if you're doing it under the grill. If you're on the broiler, you can remove it. And you save your marinade. If you grill it or broil it, keep it about 2 to 3 inches off of the heat, about 5 to 6 minutes on each side. You're just 5 to 8, but in this case, since it's so thin, maybe just 5 to 6. You're just getting it heated through, really, lightly scored with brown. Then you bring your marinade to the boil and pour that over the meat. It'll thicken it. And this is the way that it looks when it's done. It's very good. You're going to like it. It's a big surprise, and it's an awfully nice, different kind of a grilling dish. Nobody's ever served it before because it's brand new. Now, when I was a girl, let me just turn on the stovetop here. When I was young, I lived in Cambridge 1 year. Went to summer school there, and I lived in an international student house. And one of the things that I loved to do was to go to a restaurant called Durgan Parks. We used to call it DP's. And there they would serve you Boston baked beans in a implement that they sold, and it was a lot of fun. So I've always wanted to learn how to make it, and I stumbled on this recipe in a throwaway kind of a book, and I thought, I'm going to do that one. Now get 2 pounds of pea beans that are also called navy beans, and I want to show you, and I'll wait a minute, I'll come back and tell you how they look differently. 1 pound of salt pork or bacon with the rind, 3 medium onions sliced, 1/2 cup of brown sugar, 2/3 a cup of molasses. I didn't promise you this menu had no sugar in it. 1/4 of a cup of Dijon mustard, 2 tablespoons of ground ginger, and 1/2 cup of ketchup. Now, there are different things that you can do with these beans. If you cover the beans with water and soak them overnight, you're going to get this remarkable quality, and it really makes a difference if you soak them overnight. You're going to have to cook them less. Or you can place them in a pan, cover them with water, bring them up to the boil, and let them sit an hour. This is the way they look originally. And you want to pick through them and get rid of any brown spots like that, any brown pieces like that, before you start to cook them. So this is the way they look originally. This is soaked an hour, and this is soaked overnight. Makes a big difference. Always get rid of the soaking water because it's, you know what they say about beans. If you get rid of that water, they won't come back to visit you as much. Now, place them in a pan, cover them with the water, and bring the water to the boil. Remove them from the heat. Oops, that's all done. And let it sit an hour. I told you that. Now, preheat your oven to 300 degrees. Drain your beans, like I said, and place them in a heavy pot or casserole with enough water to cover, and boil them for 10 minutes until they burst, really. Cut your salt pork in half. It's already done over there. I'll show you in a second. I got this all cooking too fast. It was making me nervous. I'm going to show you how to slice those later. It's not a big deal. You just want to get your salt pork in there and leave the rind on it. And then I'm going to go ahead and add this broth to it. Now I'll come back and show you what I'm trying to do. Here we go. Get your salt pork, cut it in half. It's not a big deal. Just like that. And then slice each half in 1/2 intervals. There you go. Like that. You can do it any which way you want to. It's not a big deal. And just throw them in there. You leave your rind on top. Put a piece of the pork on the bottom. Add the onions, the beans, and their liquid. I forgot the onions. Won't hurt a thing. How bad could that be? Then you add the brown sugar. Here we go. The molasses, which I think must give it all of its goodness. There's the brown sugar, the molasses, the ginger, which I've already added, the ketchup. Oh, it's so good. This is just old-timey home. And if you're worried about calories, do something else. And the mustard. Here we go. Get a gracious plenty of salt in there for all those beans. Stir it up real well. And now let me show you that finished product that I sort of tantalized you with in a second. Put the other half of the pork on top. You know, you would just do it like that. Fanned out. It looked really pretty in the bottom. I hope you saw it. Cover it. Bake it 6 hours, checking every 2 hours because you don't want it to lose all of its goodness. I've got everything on high here. Sometimes I can't get things to heat up, and this time I think I started a little too soon. And add as more water as you need it. I think you're really going to enjoy this. And now, here's something new for you to learn about.
At Georgia Grill, I use a lot of jalapenos. That's a product that's available now in many different ways to the home cook. One of the problems, though, is jalapenos are hot or hotter. So I have a suggestion for you. When you go to the store and you see the fresh jalapeno, go over to the counter that has they're called nacho slices, and they're jalapenos that have been sliced and have been pickled. And a way to use them in your favorite recipe, calling for jalapenos, is to puree them in your food processor and then add them just one little bit at a time to develop the flavor that you'd like to have, to give you that wonderful spice and that wonderful depth that people are looking for at home now, that's making it so much more fun to be in the restaurant business.
For nearly a century, LeCreuset's colorful French cookware has been a favorite in kitchens around the world. From its bold finishes and uncompromised quality to its easy-to-clean materials, the brand's range of iconic products are as easy to use as they are to love.
I really like these fudgy brownies. They make me think of the friend who sent me the recipe, Bob Simons, and I used to work for him many, many years ago at the YMCA. Now here's what you need, is a cup of unsalted butter melted, 3/4 of a cup of unsweetened cocoa powder, 2 cups of sugar, 4 eggs, a cup of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 12-ounce package of semi-sweet chocolate chips, and 1 cup chopped nuts, which is optional, but why would you leave them out? Preheat your oven to 350 degrees. And then you grease a 13 by 9 by 2-inch pan. Now you just mix together the butter and the cocoa. I'll show you that right here. You have everything measured out ahead of time because, of course, the phone always rings at times like that. You know, I think recipes mean so much more when you get them from somebody else, don't you? First of all, you kind of know the person that sends it to you, and it just makes a difference. It makes it taste better. I don't know why. Now you mix in the sugar and add the eggs, and I'm going to beat all this together now with the beater. So watch out and add the eggs. I always feel so sorry for the girl that made these aprons. Denise Fabrizi is her name. She lives in Washington, and she sent them to me, and I always feel sorry for her when I think I'm going to splatter. Now I've got one more egg to go in, and I want to show you. I didn't want to crack it into that bowl. You always should crack it separately, and you should always add your eggs one at a time, just like I did. And so here you go. You'll get more volume that way. And you crack it separately because that way you can tell if there's something wrong with it. Not very often that there is. And you beat it well after each addition. So good. There we are. Now you go ahead and add your flour and your vanilla. A little teeny touch of salt. You always need salt, you know, in baking. It performs chemical functions as well as giving flavor. Salt adds flavor. So now you just mix it. You don't overbeat it at this point once the flour gets in there because you don't want to toughen it. But certainly you want to get every bit of it in there. And then you add your chocolate chips. You know you're going to like this already. I can just see you all running out to the store to buy chocolate chips and pecans. These are pecans. They could be walnuts. You could even put almonds in there to be nice. I think macadamia nuts might be decadent. Okay, spread it in your pan, and this other batch has been setting up here, so it seems a lot thicker. This is a lot looser, but this one's been sitting for a little while, so it's going to be harder to spread in the pan. Probably should have put the one I just made in here. And just spread it all the way out. So delicious. And bake it 25 to 30 minutes. Get it even. You get it even. Let it cool. And then let it cool on a rack for about 10 minutes. And cut it into exactly 24 squares. If you only cut it into 20 squares, you know, you only serve 20 people. It's really a nice brownie. I think you're going to like it. Now let me show you the hot German potato salad. You know, we were talking, I guess it's sort of a memory day for me. We were talking about Durgan Park, and I was thinking about living in Boston, and that's when I first got my taste for cooking. I lived in an international student house in Cambridge, and it wasn't very expensive, but I think I was being paid $55 a week when I was working at Mass General Hospital, and so I really needed more, you know, more income. And the cook got sick, so they asked me to cook. And I thought, well, why not? Because I'd always liked cooking. So we had, I think we had maybe 15, 18 people living there. And so the first night I cooked, I made tuna fish casserole. And I multiplied everything by 4, and I made 4 times as much tuna fish, and 4 times as much liquid, and 4 times as much fat, and 4 times as much onions, and whatever. And I cooked it all together, and it came out like a soup. With a layer of grease on top, and then a layer of the liquid, and then a layer of the tuna fish. So I stirred it all together. I took off the grease, stirred it all together, made some toast real fast, and I called it tuna fish a la king, named it after chicken a la king. And that's when I learned that when you multiply something up, first of all, you have to always be careful when you multiply when you're baking. That's when I also learned when you multiply something up to feed a crowd, you don't have to have fat multiplied by 4. You just need enough fat usually to cover the bottom of your pan. Now, the second night, the Israeli boy helped me, and we made meatballs and spaghetti, and we multiplied that up by 4 too. And so it said make 16 meatballs, but we had 4 times as much of the mixture. So he very patiently made meatballs that were about the size of a cantaloupe, but he made 16 out of them out of 4 times as much meat. So then I had to do something real fast with that too. So then I had to put it into 2 or 3 pans and break them all up and saute it. And it was not any longer spaghetti with meatballs. It was spaghetti with with chopped ground meat. So you have to be adaptable. Don't ever tell anyone the name of something before you actually cook it. Now, the hot German potato salad. You want 4 medium potatoes. That's 1.5 to 2 pounds. And preferably new potatoes. Now, these are not new potatoes. These are kind of giant potatoes as far as I'm concerned. Oops, that's a cooked one. Here's an uncooked one. And I'm just going to prick them. These are really giant potatoes. They're not new at all. I mean, they don't have that sweetness that new potatoes do. If you want to, you could cut them around the belly if you were going to leave them whole if they were new. But since they're not new at all, we're going to cut them into pieces once that they're cooked. Now, there you can, oh, I have to read you the whole recipe, don't I? 6 slices of bacon, 1 onion sliced, 2 tablespoons of flour, 1 cup of water, 1/2 cup of red wine vinegar, 1 teaspoon of finely chopped fresh parsley, and 1/4 a cup of sugar, which is optional. Whenever I use sugar in these recipes, it's because it's traditional, but I know that people are trying to cut back on their sweet tooth. Now, I cook these in the microwave. You just pierce them to make sure they don't explode. You put them in a microwave with paper towels under the potatoes. If you don't want to do it in the microwave, bring a pot of water to the boil and add the potatoes and cook them until they're tender but still firm if they're real new potatoes. If they're not real new potatoes, put them in cold water and bring them up to the boil and cook them until they're done. And you can peel them if you want to, but I really think you should use the vitamins. And you cut them into bite-sized pieces. Here we are. This is a cooked one. You just don't want people, and fork-sized pieces is really ideal if you're on a picnic. You just cut that, okay? There you go. And meanwhile, you cook your bacon until it's crisp. I cook mine in the oven a lot, reserving the fat in the pan, and you remove the bacon and you crumble it all up. You add the onion to the, let me add the onion to this fat here for you. I'll show you how to slice an onion in a minute. I haven't done that for a while. So here's the onion. I'll just go ahead and add that. And you just cook it till it's golden in that luscious fat. That gives it all its flavor. Cook it till it's golden now, and then add your flour to your pan. You better turn on that back burner too, hadn't I? And you remove it and set it aside, or you can go ahead and add the flour right to it. It doesn't matter. If you don't feel comfortable about making a sauce with the flour in it, then you can take it out. Now, you cook it over low heat until it's real smooth. And then you add the water and the vinegar. It's much easier to make a simple sauce like this in a frying pan, I think, than it is to make it in a saucepan. And this is a nice non-stick one. Okay, bring it up to the boil, and it'll cook just how fine. I'm going to turn all that off now so I don't forget it. And then you have your vinaigrette all just made. So you add dump everything in here, your potatoes, your onion mixture, which I think I have some here, your onions, your parsley. There, the onions are already in this already mixed batter. Parsley and your bacon, and you stir it gently so the potatoes hold their shape. Taste it for seasoning and add salt and pepper, and it's really delicious. You don't have to worry about this standing out on a table because there are no eggs in it, and that acid preserves it. Add your sugar, taste it, add your sugar if you want to. Serve it warm, or you can cover it and let it stand until it's ready to serve. You can make it ahead and serve it cold. It's just, I think it's better not. Now let me show you very quickly the iceberg bananas, just in case you didn't want all that chocolate. You get 4 bananas, 1/2 cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, a cup of heavy cream or plain low-fat yogurt. And I discovered this. I just peel my bananas all the time. If the bananas look like they're about to get brown, I just throw them into the freezer. Ideally, you peel them and wrap them in plastic wrap, and freeze them until you want them. But wrap them in plastic wrap and freeze them at least 4 hours, as long as you can. You mix your sugar and your cinnamon, and you set it aside. And then when you're ready to serve it, you slice your bananas. Let's see, I'm going to have to put this over here to really get it mixed right. Slice your bananas. I'll just put them into this dish. It might not be as frozen as I would like. Put this here. Slice your bananas, and then place them in an individual serving bowl or a shallow glass. I do it in a stem glass a lot of times. Sprinkle it with your cinnamon sugar, so nobody will know they're brown there. Then slowly pour on the cream or the yogurt over the bananas. And if your bananas are good and cold, it just congeals and coats each piece and freezes almost instantly. It's just like banana ice cream. I think you're going to like it. And now let me show you all of this all together. It was fun to make this kind of eclectic menu with all sorts of different cuisines updated for today's taste. There's the grilled ham steak with Asian barbecue sauce. Durgan Park's Boston Baked Beans, that wonderful restaurant with big tables where strangers eat together, hot German potato salad, broccoli and green bean salad, fudgy brownies, and a wonderful bananas coated with cream. These really are good.